The Nightmare Before Christmas. This is a review of the 4K and the movie. And I adore this movie. I guess we'll just start with my experience with this movie and just talk about the movie because, I usually try to talk about the movie first, but because I think Serial Midnight said this best. He's a great channel on YouTube, talks about physical media. He said that, are we format fans or movie fans? I feel like some people buy things because they're 4K and they're not really movie fans. And yeah, I get that. I think that's a huge problem with the community and stuff. So I get that. But this is also a movie I have such a large personal experience with. This is my second favorite movie of all time. This is the movie I've seen the most times. Uh, how old was I? I was probably like 13, 15. I was obsessed with Tim Burton and his work. Watched many of his films, some of them way too young. I should have not have seen Sleepy Hollow or some of the other ones that young. But I was a big fan of a lot of his work, and I love his movies. And I know he didn't direct this one. I know Henry Selick did. And yeah, that's why in the recent years I've kind of grown lesser and lesser on Tim Burton. I feel like he doesn't make very good movies anymore. Um, he was never as good as I thought he was, but he was kind of my first auteur director who really got me thinking, like, who made this movie? How did they do this, right? And it was movies like this that did that for me. Wes Anderson's Fantastic Mr. Fox and Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas will always have a special place in my heart for what they've done for my love of film. And so yeah, just a really, really, and I used to watch this movie so many times when I was younger, where I just literally pop it in, it end, I'd finish the movie, then I'd put it back in and play it again. I bought this movie twice on Blu-ray. I owned the vinyl at some point. It got damaged, unfortunately, and I need to re-get it, honestly, because this movie has a banger soundtrack. But yeah, let's talk about the movie, the 4K in just a second. But let me finish talking about the movie, I guess. Yeah, like I said, this is a Henry Selick movie, not a Tim Burton movie, and that's really great because Henry Selick is a really good animation director when it comes to stop motion. He has a couple mixed bags of movies, but I think James and the Giant Peach is pretty good for the most part. It has some clunky issues, but it's a good movie. And I think Coraline is a fantastic film, and he's really good with those movies. I'm not a big fan of his newest one, Wendell and Wild, and some of his other ones, but this is a really solid movie, and everything it does is really interesting. Um, and some people have debated whether this is like. There's a rumor going out there that like Steven Spielberg directed Poltergeist, right? When it wasn't Steven Spielberg, from what we know, but there's like a theory of Ghost Shadow directing. I feel like Nightmare Before Christmas is kind of like that, only because this movie to me feels like a Henry Selick film, but to others doesn't, and it kind of could go either or. But I truly believe Henry Selick had the most involvement with this movie because when this movie was being made, Tim Burton was doing Batman Returns, and so he really couldn't have had much time to really look over this film, to be honest, and that's why he didn't direct it necessarily. And so I think that's why, to me, this is not a Tim Burton movie, no matter what way you slice it. The animation in this movie is gorgeous. Stop motion is some of the best stop motion probably ever. It's just so gorgeous. The music, of course, is great. Danny Elfman, is really has a great score and a great actual lyrical composition, and everything's just really well done. And just yeah, this movie's just a really sweet movie that's got a lot of interesting ideas presented to it, and it very much feels like a fever dream type poem. It was based on a poem that Tim Burton wrote, and you know later adapted into a movie and a storybook, and it was just really wonderfully put together. It's just an incredible movie. I love every second of this movie. So let's talk about the 4K. I'm gonna have some controversial thoughts. So first thing I do want to say, on the Blu-ray disc, they do include all the same special features from the last Blu-ray, which is they include the Frankenweenie. Now Frankenweenie, not the stop motion movie, the live action short that movie's based on is included in the set. There's the original poem that this is based on, narrated by Christopher Lee here. Audio commentary, the making of Nightmare Before Christmas, deleted scenes, song selection, what is this, Jack's Haunted Mansion, a holiday tour, all that stuff. And I believe on here it includes Vincent. Now Vincent is a short film about a younger Vincent Price that was also stop motion animated. Tim Burton did. So yeah, some interesting stuff included here. The artwork to this is fantastic. Looks really great. It's, probably one of my favorite Disney slipcovers and editions. It just looks beautiful. Just absolutely amazing. So, you open this up. You get the Blu-ray and 4K disc. I believe this is the same. This is the same Blu-ray that they put out a couple years back as a sing-along edition when they reprinted Hocus Pocus and this movie. So, yeah. So my controversial thoughts about the 4K is, do not get me wrong, absolutely grab this, especially at the price. This is like, when I looked on Amazon, it was $22. Mine cost a little bit cheaper because I pre-ordered with Disney Movie Club, and I ordered this as a big mega order, so it was like $16. But $22, $25, whatever, that's basically the going price for this. I think the steelbook's like $30. I wouldn't recommend getting the steelbook. Very ugly steelbook, but this is a very pretty slipcover. And it's absolutely better than the Blu-ray, but the Blu-ray was very foggy and kind of grainy. And they wiped away a lot of that. And I wonder if some of that is just not great, because I think a lot of that stuff was like the film grain. And did they wipe away the film grain? Because this movie looks a lot less grainy, but, is it because the film grain's gone? I'm not really sure. Everything looks more added in clear detail, but maybe that's not necessarily the point. I don't know. It's a great looking 4K. It's beautiful, but I also wonder if sometimes the studios go a little bit too far with cleaning out, where they start getting rid of the film grain. And film grain is natural. You should see the grain, especially with these older movies. A lot of these newer ones, okay, you're probably not going to see a lot of that. But a lot of these movies like this, you're supposed to see that grainy, filmic look to it that reminds you that you're watching a movie, because it was shot on film, I don't know. But I do think this is a beautiful 4K transfer. Like I said, 100% worth grabbing. Love this movie. Go ahead and pick it up.